Hey everyone, it's Oscar here bringing you another great episode of Life After Deportation, the podcast. In this podcast, we dive into the topic of life after deportation. So grab your headphones, turn it up, let's unwind together, and welcome to another episode of Life After Deportation. What's going on, everybody? What's going on? This is your boy here once again with Life After Deportation, but you already know that with another great episode of Life After Deportation. As you guys already know, we're going into a new chapter here in life. We're almost about to close the year 2025, and the most important thing that I've been asked lately is being deported hard? Meaning it's the life that you deal with after deportation. It's hard. It's, and I'm, in this episode, we're gonna go and dive into that and talk about, if life really is hard on this side of the border. Is life really hard when someone gets deported? So let's go ahead and talk about that, and let's talk about the things nobody ever talks about, which is the real life after deportation, the struggles, the triumphs, and everything else in between. You know what I mean? Now, being in this side of the world, in Mexico, a lot of people consider Mexico a third world country, which I'm not going to argue about it, because Mexico is very well advanced, but some of the ways, some of the traditions are still mimicking some of the third world countries. You know what I mean? And I'll get into it in the detail in just a moment. You know what I mean? Now, I personally don't believe Mexico is a third world country. Mexico is very, very well advanced. However, like I said, it does have a lot of traditions that mimic a third world country, and we'll get that into detail later. But I just want to go ahead and clarify. Let's start with day one. When someone gets deported, bluntly, yes, being deported flat out without sugarcoating it, it is hard. Being deported does not come with a manual. No one tells you this is this, this is that. You know what I mean? When you first get deported as a grown person, you start with nothing. You know what I mean? Basically, everything you leave behind, and you start from zero. You start, like the recipe says, starting from scratch. You know what I mean? You start from the bottom. A lot of times, yeah, we may have a little help. We may get a little push, which is great. It's beautiful. It's great to have a little push. It's good to have someone on your side. But many of us, the majority of us, come here, touchdown with nothing. You know what I mean? With our own 2 feet. And if you've been a product, if you've been experienced through the ICE immigration and deportation process, they take away everything from you, from your cell phone, your IDs, your wallet, any money you may have, they take it away from you. Why? Because you're not the problem no more. You're Mexico's problem now. You know what I mean? So when someone gets deported, yes, it's really, really hard, because one has to start from the bottom. One has to find, where am I going to go? You know what I mean? Where am I going to go? Where I'm going to live? Where I'm going to sleep? A lot of us don't know where's what. Yeah, there's homes, immigration homes. There's churches that take people in, whatnot. But where do you go when you don't know? You don't even know the name of the street. You know what I mean? You don't even know what's left, what's right, or what's straight. You know what I mean? So, landing into your home country where you have no one, you have no experience, you're unaware of your surroundings, it's tough, really, really tough. Let's not just talk about landing having a pillow for your head to rest on. You know what I mean? Let's talk about what you're going to eat. You know what I mean? How you're going to communicate with people. I mean, you can't just walk up to people like, hey, I just got deported. Let me go ahead and use your phone. Or let me get $5 to get something to eat. A lot of people right now are tight. They don't like to give people money, and a lot of it has to do with because of trust issues. You know what I mean? And to be honest with you, me, myself, I when someone asks you for money, it's like, well, what are you going to use it for? You know what I mean? I mean, it's not my business. And if I have it, I'm going to give it to you. And, but then again, we try to help out each other, because being deported, it's like a community. You can help each other out. Even a little simple conversation in the language that, you were raised with, being English, for example, having an English conversation with someone brings that type of rapport, that type of comfortable that, what, this is home with a little bit of touch of my home. You know what I mean? So if that makes sense to you guys, it's like basically you're home in Mexico because that's where you're from. You know what I mean? But your home is in the United States because that's where you experience the rest of your childhood, your adulthood. Basically, that's where you basically got a family. You know what I mean? And now you got to come over here and start from scratch. Not only you have to worry about yourself, but you have to worry about others. You have to worry about your family, who you left behind, who else is gonna come for you. You know what I mean? Who else you got to take care of? You know what I mean? What if you're the breadwinner at home? You know what I mean? What if you're a single parent and your kids are waiting for you? You know what I mean? It's a tragic being deported. And if a lot of people try to sugarcoat it, say, yeah, deportation is, it's you start from, you can start all over. Yeah, you do start all over. Okay, great. But the impact that you're leaving behind, your family, your life, you know what I mean? That takes a toll on you. And you got to be headstrong. You got to be really, really headstrong, you know what I mean, to just get up and carry on like nothing happened. Because at the end of the day, that's what life is. Every after bad day, there's an end of the day and there's a night. And after that night, there's a following day. The life goes on. The world goes on. The world does not stop for you. It's never stopped for anybody. So the world keeps going no matter what. So yeah, being deported is flat out. It is hard. You know what I mean? Now, I'm going to go ahead and encourage you guys to listen to more episodes like this because this is the real talk of what life is after deportation. And I'm going to break it down to episode, guys, okay? So this is just a little tip of the iceberg. I'm going to go and talk about, first coming into Mexico, first getting deported. Like I said, guys, it's really, really hard being deported, but it's not impossible. You can definitely live comfortably. Yes, you can have a well life. You can raise a family. Yeah, you can live happy. You know what I mean? But it's not always that easy, and it's not always been like that. If you know what I mean. Like for example, let me use this metaphor. Rome wasn't built overnight. You know what I mean? And so was your life. Your life in the States wasn't built overnight. It took days after days after days, after months, after months, after years, and after decades. You know what I mean? Same in Mexico. You had to start one day at a time. You know what I mean? And then this is where you get exposed and you just go out there and know what you got to do, because at the end of the day, when you were living in the States, you had a job. You had to pay, got to have a place to stay. So that's what you got to do when you're in Mexico. What's the first thing you got to do? You got to eat. You got to work. You know what I mean? Even the Bible says he who doesn't work doesn't eat. You know what I mean? But like I say, guys, being deported I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not easy, but it's not hard and it's not impossible. Starting from day one, getting a job, finding a place to stay, that alone is hard. Having some having some money in your pocket could be a barrier. You know what I mean? It's a challenge. Trying to call someone that as a family member in the States could be a challenge because you probably don't have a phone. You probably don't have anyone to talk to. You know what I mean? Getting to a place to stay like immigration home, you know what I mean? That could be hard too because, again, you may not know the streets. You don't know where to go. You know what I mean? You don't know. And literally, when you get deported, man, with nothing. Yeah, there's some help here and there, but the resources are low. Yes, you could get help. You can get oriented. Yes, there's churches, there's groups, there's nonprofit groups. You know what I mean? There's immigration homes, there's government help that can help you to ease the process, not to make it easy, but just to aid you during the transition. And again, this is a transition that you're doing. You know what I mean? Like I said, being deported is not easy. It's a transition. You got to come in here. You basically leaving the whole world behind and starting fresh like a grown man in untouched land that you've never been here before. All right. So let's go and dive in deeper, guys. Catch me in the next episode. Let's go and dive in this deeper, guys. Let's go and dissect this. Let's talk about this. Let's go and get into the root of the problem, guys, so we can get our peoples motivated and to let them know that there is hope and there is life after deportation. Don't forget to like and subscribe. One God, and let's go. If you'd like more information on how to contribute or would like to share your deportation story, please reach out via email to deportedtj@gmail.com. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and to our other platforms like YouTube so we can continue encouraging that there is life after deportation. Oh, in Jesus' name, let's go.